Right, this is the paper that you sat as a test last Monday. Here are the grade boundaries that we use. So you need to score 20 marks on the paper before you into the G grades. You need to score 30 in order to gain the grade F, and so on through the paper. So we're looking to score 70 out of 100 for you to be sure of that grade C. If we work question by question, it's not until question 4, if you've got everything right up to there before you're actually grading, then you've got to get up to question 7 right before you're into a grade F, and so on up to question 14. And if you manage to get full marks up to question 14, then you're guaranteed a grade C. So this is a non-calculator paper. Equipment that you're going to need for this paper are a protractor, a ruler, a compass, and some tracing paper, which you can ask the exam invigilators to provide you. Okay, let's get stuck in. So the first question is writing a check. Complete the following check by writing the amount in figures on the line provided. So the quantity is £46,705 only. So 46,705. If you work backwards, you're going, remember, from units, tens, hundreds, thousands. What we've got there is £5, no tens, 700s, and 46,000. So 46,705. It's easier when you're trying to work that out in the right columns to work backwards. It's £5, no tens, 700, and 46,000. So what they're looking for is 46705, and that's what the mark's for. And then going the other way, what we have there are 7 units, 110, so that's 17, 400s, 417, 9,000s, 417, and you need to write that in words. So it's 9,000 400 and 17. So there's 1 mark for that and 1 mark for that. Write the following number in order of size, starting with the smallest. So there's your instruction. You're going to start with the smallest number there, scan the list, smallest number is 46, put a little dot by it so we know we've used it. Next one will be 64, little dot. Next one 406, 460, 604, 640. So we're putting a little tick or a little cross the number out once you put it in the list, and you know you're not going to miss any or duplicate any. Write down the sum. You need to know that sum means add. So you have to do 54 add 48. Whichever method you have been taught that you're comfortable with. That's the most common. So you can do 8 and 4 is 12. 12 is 2 in the units, 1 into the tens. Then carry your tens, and you've got 10 of them. So it's 102. The number that must be added to 85 to make 113. So you need to work out the difference between those two numbers, and that's what you would have to add. Finding the difference is to subtract. Again, whatever method you've been taught that you're comfortable with, not using a calculator. You could do counting on, or you could do the traditional subtraction. Now when you're doing that as a subtraction, you can't take 5 from 3, so you have to borrow from there. You can't take 8 from 0, so you have to borrow from there. So rather than writing 113, you're writing 1013. 5 take away 13 is 8. 8 from 10 is 20. So the answer is 28, and it's easy to check just by adding these two up. 5 and 8 is 13. So 3 down, carry 1. 8 and 2 and 1 is 11. So you know you've got your answer. So there's 1 mark for that. There's 1 mark for 102, and there's 1 mark for 28. This is a symmetry question. So what you have to do here is treat the line AB as if it was a mirror. Now when something is reflected, it's exactly the same distance away from the mirror in the reflection as in real life. So this point here, and it's easiest to work with points, that far point there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the mirror line. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the mirror line on the other side of the paper, of the other side of the mirror too. Draw that in. Let's not worry about the curve for a moment. Let's put all the straight lines in. This line from there is 2, so it'll be 2 squares the other side as well. And then this point is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Draw that line in as well. And then all you have to worry about then is the curve. And it's a freehand curve, so they're not expecting it to be perfect, but they're expecting you to have a reasonable go at it. So again, it's nearly touching that point. It's about just under half in that one. So put those little points in, and then you're going to try and draw freehand what it looks like. Okay, so mine doesn't look perfect at all, but that's good enough to get the marks. So you got 2 marks for that. There'll be 1 for the curve and 1 for the straights. So the total for that page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Draw and name a quadrilateral which is exactly 2 lines of symmetry. So quadrilateral, you should know 4 sides. 2 lines of symmetry, well, if it was a square, it would have 4 lines because it would be symmetrical about the diagonals as well. So what you're looking to draw here is a rectangle. So just draw yourself a rectangle, any rectangle. I'll go for a 4 by 2. And the 2 lines of symmetry that you'll have on that will be 1 about the middle this way, and 1 about the middle this way. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect so long as it's clear what you've drawn, and what you've drawn is a rectangle. So you'll have 1 for the drawing, 1 for the name. Oh, the gap is there. It doesn't matter if you'd have written it up there, you get the mark. So long as it's clearly labelled, that will be fine. Now a triangle which is exactly 1 line of symmetry would be an isosceles triangle. So an isosceles triangle is one with 2 equal sides, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect so long as your intention is clear. That's how you show it's isosceles. If it was equilateral, you'd have that side the same as well. So that's how you spell isosceles. And the line of symmetry through that would be splitting the 2 equal sides. So you'd have 1 mark for the drawing, 1 mark for the name. It's all knowledge, you just need to know that information. Okay, write down the smallest 4-digit number that can be made using all the numbers 7, 5, 8 and 2. So this again is a place value question where you're talking about units, tens, hundreds, thousands, because you've got 4 digits. And to make the smallest one as possible, you want the digits with the biggest size to be in the place with the smallest, with the largest power. So if you put a 7 in there, that's going to make a 7,000 number. Because you want the smallest number, then you're going to put a 2 in there, because that's only a 2,000 number. So what you want is to have these in order of ascending size. So the smallest number you could make would have a 2 in the thousands, then it would have the 5, then it would have the 7, then it would have the 8. So 2,578 is the smallest number you can make. Now for the largest number, you'd want the digit with the biggest value in the biggest place. So if you put an 8 there, you would have an 8,000 number. And you want the largest odd 4-digit number, so it would have to end with an odd number in there, otherwise it would be an even number. So you'd want to put either the 5 or the 7 in there, and because you want it to be the largest number, you'd put the 5 in there so that the 7 is going to have a bigger value because it's either in the hundreds or the tens. So the largest odd 4-digit number is going to have the 8, the 7, then you wouldn't have the 5 next because it needs to be odd, so it would be 2, and then the 5 at the end to make that odd. So 8,725 would be the largest odd number. When you were rounding correct to the nearest 10, that means if you were counting that in tens, you're going to go 4,000, that's 4,736, or to the nearest 10 it's either going to be 4,730 or 4,740. Nearest is 4,740. Okay, so closest, so either 4740 or 4730. Those are counting up in tens, and 36 is closest to that. So that's your answer. Okay, you wouldn't have to put that method in. I'm putting that there for you to understand exactly what I'm doing. Similarly, this one, if I was counting in hundreds, that would either be 4,700 or 4,800. And we can see that it's closest to 4,700. And how many tickets at £4.94 each can be bought with 2 £20 notes? Well, 2 £20 notes is £40. That's almost £5. 5 into 40 goes 8 times. Okay, so that's basically what you do. 2 £20 notes is £40, so it's important that you read the question. You round your 4.94 up to the nearest pound, which is 5. How many times does 5 go into 40? 8, so you can buy 8 tickets. So for that question, you're going to get 1 mark and 1 mark for the digit numbers, 1 mark and 1 mark for the rounding, and 1 mark for the right method for that, which is 40 divided by 5, and 1 for getting the correct answer. Now this is another units question like we had in the previous paper. The volume of a kettle is usually a litre. That would be a teaspoon. That's the sort of thing you take your medicine on. That is not very big, 10 centimeters cubed. 100 milliliters, again, if you think of a normal soft drink can, is usually 330 milliliters. Kettle's bigger than that, so a kettle is a litre. The weight of a woman, 60 grams is very light. 60 milligrams is even lighter. 600 kilograms is over half a ton. So by eliminating, the weight of a woman would be 60 kilograms. The distance from London to Paris, 1,000 kilometers, is quite a long way. It's probably 1,000 kilometers is probably sort of Cardiff to Edinburgh or something like that. So London to Paris, if you think of them on the map, aren't that far. It's certainly not 3.4 kilos. It's not that one. It's not 34. Eliminate, get 340. Now the area of this page, unfortunately I've shrunk the page, so you're not going to get a very good estimate. In the exam, what I'd suggest you do here is just measure it. So your page would be, this one is about 30 centimeters by 20 centimeters, which is 600 square centimeters. So if we take the page as in the double, whereas in the exam it would be a single, it's actually 30 by 20, which would be 600 centimeters squared. So you get 1 mark for each of those. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 for the page, and you can see here that we're grading now. If we got all right so far, then we're already guaranteed a grade G. Right, probability question. In a raffle, 20 yellow tickets are numbered 1 to 20 and 30 green tickets are numbered from 1 to 30. All 50 tickets are put in a drum and 1 ticket is stored at random. What is the probability that the yellow ticket with the number 7 on it is selected? Well, if there are 20 yellow tickets and 30 green tickets in the drum, that means there are 50 chances altogether. So my probability is going to be measured out of 50. How many of those tickets are a yellow number 7? 1. There is only 1 yellow number 7. So the chances of you getting that ticket are 1 out of 50. Harry says that the probability of choosing a ticket with the number 16 on it is more than the probability of choosing a ticket with a number 26 on it. Explain, giving full details, whether or not Harry is correct. So if we think about the number 16, there are in fact 2 number 16s in the drum, because you've got 1 yellow 16 and 1 green 16. So there are 2 tickets numbered 16 and only 1 ticket with a number 26 on, because the yellow tickets stop at 20. So there's only 1 ticket but with a number 26 on. So Harry is correct. Okay, it is twice as likely that you're going to get the number 16 than the number 26. So you're going to get 1 here for doing the probability, the maths, the explanation, and 1 for the right explanation, and 1 for that probability there. Okay, so we've got to make sense of this chart now. The chart shows the number of boys and girls in each year in a school. Each full square represents 12 pupils. Okay, so that's crucial that we read and take that, understand that. How many boys are there in year 7? So the boys are the dark grey bar, and year 7 is here. So what we've got here is 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, and each square represents 12 pupils. So 4 times 12 is 48 boys. How many more girls than boys are there in year 9? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 squares of boys, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 girls. So there's half a square more girls. Half a square would be 6 pupils. Okay, just go through that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 squares of boys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares of girls. You could work it out. You could have worked out 5.5 times 12 is 6 times 12 and subtract it. Either way, you'd have come up with these 6 pupils. Estimate the total number of pupils in year 10. Well, I would say you have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a third of a square of boys. So that would be 6 12s are 72 plus, so you have 72 there, 6 times 12, and then a third of 12 would be 4 there. So you've got 76 boys, and then if we look at the girls, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half, I would say there. So you've got 72 plus 6 is 78. Add them together, 14, 154 altogether. Have the number of pupils joining the school risen or fallen over the last 5 years? Well, if you think that this is this year's year 7, this will have been the year 7 before. The year 7 before that would be bigger again. The year 7 before that would be bigger again. And the year 7 the year before that would be bigger again. You can see that every year, the year 7 coming in is smaller than the year that went before it. It has fallen as each year group is smaller than the one above it. Okay, so for this you'd have 1 mark, 1 mark, 1 mark for your method, and your method could be how you've decided that that's going to be about 4 pupils, that's a bit more, that's half of it, and so on, and 1 for your explanation. So for the page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the page. Okay, so we're now into grade F if we've got everything right up to here. Let's take a look what's happening with these sequences. So this one is going from 3 to 9, up 6, 9 to 15, up 6, 15 to 21, up 6, next number, add 6, 27. This number is going down by 7, down by 7, down by 7. So the next number is going down by 7 as well. So that's going to be 57. Miranda thinks of a number. She adds 5 to her number and then divides the answer by 6. Okay, so I've turned that into a number machine, and what comes out the other side is 8. So in order to solve what her original number was, you work backwards through the number line, and if you go backwards through the number line, you do the opposite sum to what you've done there. So the first thing you're going to do is multiply by 6. 8 times 6 is 48. Then you're going to do the opposite of that, which is take away 5, which gives you what you started with, which is 48, take away 5, 43. And you can check your answer, make sure your answer is clear. 43 add 5 is 48, divided by 6 is 8. So you know you got the right answer. We did one of these in the last paper. They're all H's, which means you're just going to be moving up and down a H number line. So we got 5H, which we're going to add 6H to. So you're going to go from 5 up 6 to 11H, and then you're going to go back down 4. You're going to, from the 11H, you're going to subtract 4H, which means you're going to end up at 7H. This is a formula. So the 5 and the A are joined by a times. The 3 and the B are joined by a times. So when we replace the A and the B, we must put in the times. So what we've got here is going to be 5 times 6, add 3 times 4. And from Bodmas, remember, we always multiply before we add. So we do 5 times 6 is 30, 3 times 4 is 12, add them together to get 42. There is a connection between the x and y coordinates of the following points. So the x coordinates, remember, are the first digits in the bracket. So it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, going up in ones. So that would be 10, that would be A. The next are going up 4, 8, 12, 16. They're going up in the 4 times table, and if you see, this number is 1 times 4, 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 4 is 12, 4 4s are 16, so this number missing here is going to be 10 4s, 40, and this is going to be 4 A's, which is just 4 times A, which is 4A. Okay, so for this one, you're going to have 1 mark for each sequence. Here you're going to have a method mark and an answer mark, and the method is for undoing, going backwards, timesing and subtracting, and then the answer mark for getting 43. 1 mark for the simplifying, 1 mark for writing in the correct substitution with the timeses, 1 mark for the answer, and 1 mark here for 40 and 1 mark for 4A. Question 8. Diagram shows a number of cubes of side 1 centimeter forming a solid shape. Find by counting the cubes the volume of the shape and state the units of your answer. So what you do here is you count the number of cubes that you can see in one layer. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cubes in one layer, and we have 3 layers, so it'll be 7 cubes times 3 layers will be 21. 7 3s are 21 cubes, and each cube is 1 centimeter cubed, so it's going to be 21 cm3. Okay, and with this question it's telling you to state the units of your answer. So if you just wrote 21 there, you'd only get 1 mark. So there's 1 mark for 21 and a unit mark, U1, for the CM3. Measure the size of angle ABC. So you need to get your protractor. Angle ABC is this angle here. You take the center of your protractor and it's going to go on the point B where the two lines cross. You line 0 up with one of the lines. So I'm going to line it up with the bottom line. And you're going to measure the angle to where the protractor crosses the other line. Now, where people get confused with angles is there are two scales, okay? And the easiest thing to do is just to look at that angle first of all and estimate it, okay? I know that angle is less than 90 degrees, okay? Because 90 degrees is a right angle. So when I am deciding which of my scales to read, it's either going to be 60 something or 290 something. Well, I know it's not 290 because I've spotted it's less than 90. So common sense is telling me is 60 something. So 60 is there. 65 is the long one there. You can see it's 64 degrees. So that is that. Okay, so there'll be 1 mark for that, but I think it's tucked away at the marks at the end, but I'll put it on this page. So there'll be 1 mark for correctly drawing that angle there. So total marks for that page: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 marks. So finishing off that question, on the diagram below, draw the line PQ so that PQR is 136. PQR is the angle that you get when you go from P to Q to R. So the angle is the middle letter. So we're going to put our protractor on Q. We line the 0 up with a line that's there. And again, 136, we're going to be measuring 10, 20, 30, 40 this direction. I'm measuring my angle out to here. So 130 is there, 135, 136. Put a mark, and P is going to be somewhere on that line. It doesn't matter where, because it's not telling you how long to draw it. So P can be there. The important thing is that that angle there is 136 degrees. So you've got 1 mark for that, and you've got 1 mark for knowing that this is an obtuse angle. Okay, that's another one of those maths terms that you need to know. An acute angle would be smaller than 90 degrees. A right angle is 90 degrees. An obtuse is bigger than 90, less than a straight line, 180. And if it's bigger than a straight line, it would be reflex. 1 mark for that. Simon has made 237 jugs to sell. He packs them in crates that hold 32 jugs each. I graded. Yeah. He packs them in crates that hold 32 jugs each. How many full crates will he have, and how many jugs will be left over? Well, you'll probably recognize that that's going to be a division, okay? And you probably think, I can't do division without a calculator. So you can do it as a multiplication, okay? You can do it by just trial and improvement. So if you look at this, 32 jugs, if it was 10 crates, 32 jugs, 10 crates would be 32 times 10, 320. Way too big. If you had 5 crates, it would be half as much. So 5 crates would be half of that, which would be 160, which is too small. So I'm looking for my answer, which is going to be between 5 crates and 8 crates. So I'm going to try 8. So 32 times 8 is 16, 24, 25, 256. Okay, so 8 crates would take 256. I need 237. So it could be 7 crates. Okay, so let's try 7 twos are 14, 21, 22. So 7 crates, I wouldn't have enough room. So it's going to be 8 crates. So 8 crates I need. And there's space there for 256. I only need 237, so I know do a taking away. And again, whatever method you want to use, counting on is fine. 2, 3, 7. So I'm going to do a subtraction sum here. I can't take 7 from that, so I've got to borrow, which means that becomes a 4. 7 from 16 is 9, 3 from 4 is 1, and 2 from 2 is nothing. So there's 19 left over. I haven't answered that right, have I? I have misread the question. Okay, the question is saying how many full crates will he have and how many jugs will be left over. What I have answered is how many crates will he need and how much space is left. Okay, so although I've done the right maths for my question, I haven't read that. I'm not going to get the full marks. Okay, so what we need here is in fact not that. We need 7 crates. There'll be 7 full crates. And then 7 full crates would be 224, and I've got 237. So I've got to do 2, 3, 7, take 2, 2, 4, which is 3, 1, nothing. So there will be 13 left over. Okay, so there I am, always nagging you to read and think before answering the question, and I fell victim to my own, or your common mistake there, which is not reading. The method would have been fine. Okay, so again, I didn't do dividing because people don't like dividing, so I start off by guessing with a simple number. Timesing that by 10 adds a 0. 320, way too much. So if I do half as many crates, I haven't got to do 32 times 5, I can just do half that. That's a bit too small, so I guessed 8, multiplied it, too big, guessed 7, smaller, then I made the mistake, but that would be 224, would give me 7 full crates with 13 left over. So for that you would have 1 for your method, 1 for the number of crates, 1 for the leftover. Okay, so now we've got some fractions. When you're dealing with fractions and percentages and so on, first of all find 1/8. Okay, 1/8 will be 56 divided by 8. (56 divided by 8). How many times does 8 go into 56? 7 times. So 1/8 is 7, so 3/8 will be 3 times 7, which is 21. So when you're finding fractions of a quantity, find one of the fraction first of all. So 1/4 you divide by 4, 1/10 you divide by 10, 1/8 you divide by 8, and then multiply that by however many of that fraction you've got. So I've got 3 here, so I'm times it by 3. With percentages, same, find 1% first of all. 1%, you would take the quantity and divide by 100, which is 5. So 7% would be 7 times 5 equals 35. So whatever it is, you find 1% by dividing the quantity by 100 and then multiply by however many percents you want. Method mark, answer mark, method mark, answer mark. Total mark for the page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, we're now into grade E. So grade E, Chris goes for a drive in his car. He stops twice during his journey. The graph shows the journey. So we've got distance going up and time going across. If the distance is increasing as the time is increasing, he's moving. If time is carrying on, but the distance isn't increasing, he's stationary. So, again, I'm moving too fast here. How far did Chris travel between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock? So at 9 o'clock, he was 10 miles from home. At 10 o'clock, he was 40 miles from home. So the distance he's travelled is 10, 20, 30 miles. Right, so now we come into the stopping question. So when he stopped, the graph is flat. So he stopped there for a period of time and he stopped there for a period of time. And what you have to do first of all is work out how much time each little square is on the graph. So he's going from 10 to 11 in 1 hour. 1 hour is 60 minutes, and that's 10 little squares. So 60 minutes is 10 squares. So 1 square divided by 10 would be 6 minutes. Okay, so you have to determine that before you can work out what each little, how much time each square is. So it's gone from 11 to 12, an hour, 60 minutes in 10 squares. So each square is 60 divided by 10, 6 minutes. So at this point on the graph, so the first stop he's stopping for 5, 6, 7 squares, and each of those is 6 minutes. So that's 42 minutes. The second stop is 5 squares, each one 6 minutes. So that's 5 6s, 30 mins. So altogether he stopped for 72 minutes. Easy once you've worked out how much time each little square represents. Without calculating any speeds, explain how you can decide whether Chris was driving faster before or after stopping for the first time. So this is before stopping, this is after stopping. Now, when a graph is steep, it means it's covering a big distance in a short space of time. The flatter the graph, the less fast he's traveling, because he's covering less distance in that space of time. So he was traveling faster because the line is steeper before that stop. The line before before the stop is steeper, so he was traveling faster before stop. Okay, so what the examiner is looking for there is steeper, faster. Those two words will trigger that mark. At what time did he arrive home? Well, again, we've worked out now that this is, each little square is 6 minutes, so he arrives home 2 squares before 4 o'clock, so that's 12 minutes before 4 o'clock. So that's going to be 15:48. If you add 12 minutes to 48 minutes, you get 16 o'clock, 1600 hours. So for that question, you've got 1 for that, 1 for that, 1 for that explanation, and 1 for the final time home. Okay, now we are looking at reading a timetable. So let's just check, first of all, that we know what this is telling us. So the following are parts of rail timetables between Swindon and Coventry and between Coventry and Durham. So the train, this is saying that the train will leave Swindon at 29 minutes past 2. It will arrive in Reading at 3 o'clock. It'll then wait in Reading. It doesn't leave Reading until 11 minutes past, and it gets into Coventry at 16:22. Denise catches the 15:29 train from Swindon to Coventry. So this is the train that she is on, the 15:29 from Swindon to Coventry. How long does the journey take? So she leaves Swindon at 15:29 and she gets into Coventry at 17:23. So what you have to do here is find out how much time there is, how long between 17:23 and 15:29. So 15:29 to 16:29 is 1 hour. 16:29 to 17:29 is the second hour, but it is 6 minutes less than that. From 16:29 back to that is 6 minutes less than another hour, and 6 minutes less than an hour will be 54 minutes. Okay, when you're working with time, you cannot just do a subtraction the way that you do subtractions in arithmetic normally, because it's out of 60. So you really are having to do a sort of counting on exercise. 29 minutes past 3 to 29 minutes past 4 is an hour. 29 minutes past 4 to 29 minutes past 5 is another hour, but you're not going that far, you're going 6 minutes less. You're going back then from 29 to 23. John arrives at Reading station at 14:55. He travels on the next train to Coventry for a meeting, which, including the walk to and from the station, takes a total of 1 hour 20 minutes. He then catches the next train to Durham. What time does he arrive in Durham? So he arrives at Reading at 14:55. So here we are, so we're in Reading. He travels on the next Coventry train. So the next train that he can catch is this one. Okay, this doesn't leave Reading until 11 minutes past 3. So he catches the 15:11. So he gets into Coventry at 16:22. So here he is in Coventry. For a meeting which, including the walk to and from the station, takes a total of 1 hour 20 minutes. So he's back at the station an hour and 20 minutes after he gets there. So back at station at 16:22. 1 hour would be 17:22, and another 20 minutes would be 17:42. So he's back in the train station at 17:42 in Coventry, and he wants to get back to Durham. So he's in Coventry. He can't get on that train, so he has to catch the 17:49. So he arrives back at Durham at 21:39. Okay, so that's quite a complicated question, that. Just go through it again. He gets to Reading Station at 5 to 3, 14:55. So he can get on that first train. Okay, so the first thing you've got to do is not look at Swindon, we're looking at Reading because that's where he is. 14:55, he can get on the 15:11 train. If he gets on the 15:11 train, he arrives in Coventry at 16:22. So catches the 15:11 from Reading, arrives in Coventry 16:22. He's then in Coventry for an hour and 20 minutes, and after which time he's back at the station. So an hour and 20 on that is 17:42. So he's in Coventry train station. He's not there for that train, he is there for that train. So that's what he's going to catch, which gets into Durham at 21:39. So marks for that question. 1 mark for working with the right time, 1 mark for the answer. And for this question, you're going to get 1 mark for the right train and arriving at Coventry, 1 mark for working out what time to get back at the station, 1 mark for the right train, 1 mark for what time it arrives in Durham. So total for that page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we're now into the D grade questions. All prime numbers are odd numbers. Explain why that statement is wrong. Well, you need to know what prime numbers are first of all. So prime numbers are numbers that only have themselves and 1 as factors. So for example, 12 isn't a prime number because 6 goes into it, and 4 goes into it, and 3 goes into it. So those are their factors. 7 is a prime number because only 7 and 1 are factors. So what you're looking for is just an example of an odd number that has got other factors. And 9 would be a good example because 3 goes into it. 15 would be a good example because 5 and 3 go into it. Doesn't matter, you just pick 1. So its statement is wrong. For example, 15 has 3 and 5 as factors. Okay, and be good enough for the mark. If you know what 0.25 or a number is, explain how you can find the value of the number. Well, you should know that 0.25 is the same as a quarter or 25%. If you know what a quarter of a number is, you'd multiply it by 4 and that will give you the full number. Then times by 4 to find value of number. Okay, so 0.25 is a quarter. If you know what 1/4 is, multiply by 4, you'll get the value of the number. Explain which of 3/5 or 65% is larger. Now there are some fractions that you need to know the equivalences of. Quarters is a good example. A quarter is 0.25, 3/4 is 0.75. It's the same with fifths. You should know that 1/5 is the same as 0.2. 2/5 is 0.4. 3/5 is 0.6. 4/5 is 0.8 and so on. You should know what fifths are as decimals. So 3/5 is 0.6 or 0.60. 65% is 0.65. So, which is the larger? 65%. One mark for that explanation, sorry, an E mark. This is an E mark, you're explaining that you need to multiply by 4, and this is an E mark because you're explaining which one is larger by converting into equivalent decimals. Okay, the last D question. A bag contains 3 discs numbered 3, 4 and 5 respectively. A blue bag contains 4 discs numbered 2, 3, 5 and 7 respectively. In a game, a player takes 1 disc at random from each of the 2 bags. The score for the game is the sum of the 2 numbers on the discs. Complete the following table by writing the missing disc numbers and all the possible scores. Some have been done for you. So the blue bag contains 4 discs numbered 2, 3, 5 and 7. So those numbers are missing from the blue bag. From the red bag, 3, 4 and 5 respectively. In a game, a player takes 1 disc at random from each of the 2 bags. The score is the sum. Sum means add. If you're not sure, have a look at what's happened to get that number there. So in order to get that number, we've pulled a 5 from the blue bag, a 4 from the red bag, added the 5 and 4 together to get 9. So in order to complete the table, in here it's going to be 2 in the blue, 3 in the red, add them together, 5. 3, 3, 6, 5, 3, 8, 7, 3, 10. 2, 4, 6, 3 and 4, 7, 7 and 4, 11. 2 and 5, 7, 3 and 5, 8, 5 and 5, 10, 7 and 5, 12. So that's completed the table. Find the probability that the score for one game is less than 9. So what this table has done for us now is it's put all the possible outcomes for the game. When you play this game, there are 3, 6, 9, 12 possible outcomes. So my probability is going to be out of 12. How many of the possible outcomes has a score less than 9? Okay, so less than 9 would be that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. That's not less than 9 and none of the others. So the number of possible outcomes where you get a score less than 9 are 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the probability is going to be 7 out of 12. In a game, a player wins if he or she scores less than 9. 240 people each play the game once. Approximately how many would you expect to win the prize? So this is telling you that for every 12 people that play the game, 7 are expected to win. So if 240 people play the game, what we need to work out is what 7/12 of 240. We need to divide 240 into blocks of 12, and in each block of 12, 7 will be winners. So 12 into 240 is 20. So 20, so 1/12 will be 20, and in each of those 20 blocks you have 7 winners, so you would expect to have 140 winners. Let me explain that again. We've worked out that the probability for one game less than 9 is 7 out of 12. So for every 12 people that play the game, 7 are likely, not definite, it's an estimate with probability, you're expected to get 7 winners every 12 games. So if 240 play the game once, then you want to divide 240 into 12ths, which is 20. So you've got 20 groups of 12, and in each group of 12 you've got 7 winners. So you would expect there to be 140 winners. I'll stop there now, and then I'll come back and finish off with the grade C questions.